Yay, hello. I believe we are live. Let's double check. Let's double check. Because last week made that mistake. Yes, we are perfect. Hello, good morning. Wanted to make sure that we were live on time today. And let's begin in prayer. Lord, as we enter this week, be among us, be with us, surround us, and comfort us. Give us strength, give us wisdom, give us hope. And Lord, thank you for last week. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the teachings. Thank you for your word. Thank you for your love. As we read in your word today, give us everything that we need from it. Highlight the things that are important and what is something that we need to focus on, Lord, as we head into this week and into this word today. Lord, we're so grateful for you. We're thankful for you. We love you. You're an amazing Father. You're an amazing God. You're an amazing friend. You are everything to us, and without you, we would be nothing. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Whew. This week, I'm very excited about this week, and we are in week 26. This is the last week of this section. So pretty soon we're going to be heading into the New Testament, but next week is week 27, which gets us into the last 2 quarters of the year. So technically right now we're at like the halfway point. And I'm so excited because Ezekiel is a very profound chapter. And we, as believers, I know that you've heard about dry bones and you've heard about visions and, purpose and power and all of these things. And a little bit about Ezekiel, so that we all can truly understand. In the Bible app, this is what I'm reading it from. In the NIV version, it gives you a little bit of an intro of Ezekiel, and I just thought it was really important, especially if you've only read maybe certain verses of Ezekiel. So it says the priest Ezekiel was among the Judeans that Nebuchadnezzar brought to the Babylon in 597 BC. So 5 years into his exile, God called Ezekiel to go to Israel, both those in Babylon and those in Judea, and speak my words to them. Ezekiel often brought this message by composing finely polished poetic oracles and speaking or perhaps singing them in public. But he also told stories with symbolic meanings, performed symbolic actions, and described extraordinary visions that he'd received. The book of Ezekiel organizes these messages into 3 main parts: the oracles of judgment against Israel, oracles against other nations, and then promises of Israel's restoration. These divisions are marked by references to the prophet losing, then regaining his ability to speak. A key vision near the beginning describes how God removed his presence from the Jerusalem temple because of Israel's evil. The oracles against the nations made it clear that though God's temple was destroyed, no one should conclude that God is still not in control of the world. Those who threaten his people will be defeated in the end. The book's closing promise confirms that God will renew the hearts of his people and refresh all life on the face of the earth. Ezekiel's visions fit the ongoing drama of the Bible. A broken world will be healed when the Lord returns to live with his people in a land that has become like the Garden of Eden. So, pretty powerful stuff, if you ask me, when it comes to Ezekiel. And so, with Ezekiel, right, he was a priest that turned prophet, and he ministered one of the most darkest seasons in Israel's history. Very similar to it. it's kind of like Jeremiah, but it's unlike Jeremiah, right? He prophesies before and during the destruction. So now Ezekiel is after. He's already been living in exile, and that is when God has called him, right? So this is kind of the situation. Like Jerusalem has fallen, the temple has been destroyed, God's people are kind of just everywhere. There really is no hope at this time, and everything familiar was gone. Like everything that they had known for all of these years was gone, and the people believed that it was over, that was it. But Ezekiel gave them a message, and it was that he was not finished yet. So, this is really the entire heart of Ezekiel. And some key points before we start is, why does this matter today? Why is this? How can we relate this? And you know I love this. How can we relate this to us? And it's because there are a lot of people that feel like they're standing in a valley of dry bones. And we'll really kind of get into dry bones today. And it could be because, a dream of yours is gone. A business is gone, relationship, a ministry, a passion. Your faith maybe doesn't seem strong, maybe it's dry. And what you have to hold on to is what looks like what might be gone is not gone to God. So, as we begin, chapter 1. And by the way, chapter 1 to chapter through to chapter 4 is probably one of my favorites. And you'll see why. A vision of living beings. On July 31st of my 13th year, while I was with the Judea exiles beside the Kibar River in Babylon, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. This happened during the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's probably butchered that, captivity. The Lord gave this message to Ezekiel, son of Buzi, a priest, beside the Kibar River in the land of the Babylonians, and he felt the hand of the Lord take a hold of him. As I looked, I saw a great storm coming from the north, driving before it a huge cloud that flashed with lightning and shone with brilliant light. There was fire inside the cloud, and in the middle of the fire glowed something like a gleaming amber. From the center of the cloud came 4 living beings that looked human, except each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, their feet had hooves like those of a calf, and shone like brushed bronze. Under each of their 4 wings I could see human hands, so each of the 4 beings had 4 faces and 4 wings. The wings of each living being touched the wings of the beings beside it. Each one moved straight forward in any direction without turning around. Each had a human face in the front, and the face of a lion on the right side, and a face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle on the back. Each had 2 pairs of outstretched wings, one pair stretched out to touch the wings of the living beings on either side of it, and the other pair covered its body. They went in whatever direction the Spirit chose, and they moved straight forward in any direction without turning around. The living beings looked like bright coals of fire or brilliant torches, and lightning seemed to flash back and forth among them, and the living beings darted to and fro like flashes of lightning. As I looked at these beings, I saw 4 wheels touching the ground beside them, one wheel belonging to each. The wheels sparked as if it was made of beryl. All 4 wheels looked alike and were made the same. Each wheel had a second wheel turning the crosswise within it. The beings could move in any of the 4 directions they faced without turning as they moved. The rims of the 4 wheels were all tall and frightening, and they were covered with eyes all around. When the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. When they flew upward, the wheels went up too. The spirit of the living beings was in the wheels, so whenever the spirit went, the wheels and the living beings also went. When the beings moved, the wheels moved. When the beings stopped, the wheels stopped. When the beings flew upward and the wheels rose up from the spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. Spread out above them was like a surface like the sky, glittering like crystal. Beneath the surface of the wings, each living being stretched out to touch the other's wings, and each had 2 wings covering its body. As they flew, their wings sounded to me like the waves crashing against the shore, or like the voice of the Almighty, or like the shouting of a mighty army. When they stopped, they let down their wings. As they stood with wings lowered, a voice spoke from beyond the crystal surface above them. Above this surface was something that looked like a throne made of blue lapis lazuli. On this throne high above was a figure who resembled a man. From what appeared to be from his waist up, he looked like a gleaming amber flickering like a fire. From his waist down, he looked like a burning flame shining with splendor. All around him was a glowing halo, like a rainbow shining in the clouds on a rainy day. This is what the glory of the Lord looked like to me. When I saw it, I fell face down on the ground, and I heard someone's voice speaking to me. Chapter 2. Ezekiel's Call and Commission. "Stand up, Son of Man," said the voice. "I want to speak with you." The Spirit came onto me as he spoke, and he set me on my feet. I listened carefully to his words. "Son of man," he said, "I am sending you to the nation of Israel, a rebellious nation that has rebelled against me. They and their ancestors have been rebelling against me to this very day. They are stubborn and hard-headed people, but I am sending you to them. This is what the sovereign Lord says. And whether they listen or refuse to listen, for remember they are rebels, at least they will know they have had a prophet among them. Son of man, do not fear them or their words. Do not be afraid, even though their threats surround you like nettles and briars and stinging scorpions. Do not be dismayed by their dark scowls, even though they are rebels. You must give them my message, whether they listen or not. But what I say to you, do not join them in their rebellion. Open your mouth and eat what I give you." Then I looked and saw a hand reaching out to me. It held a scroll, which he unrolled it, and I saw that both sides were covered with funeral songs, words of sorrow, and pronouncements of doom. The voice said to me, "Son of man, eat what I am giving you. Eat this scroll, then go and give this message to the people of Israel." So I opened my mouth, and he fed me the scroll. "Fill your stomach with this," he said, and when I ate it, it tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth. Then he said, "Son of man, go to the people of Israel and give them my message. I am not sending you to foreign people whose language you cannot understand. No, I am sending you to people with strange and difficult speech. I am not sending you to people with strange and difficult. If I did, they would listen. But the people of Israel won't listen to you, and any more than they'll listen to me. For the whole of them are hard-headed and stubborn. But look, I have made you as obstinate and hard-hearted as they are. I have made your forehead as hard as the toughest rock. So don't be afraid of them or fear their angry looks, even though they are rebels." Then he said, "Son of man, let my words sink deep into your own heart first. Listen to them carefully for yourself. Then go to your people in exile and say to them, 'This is what the sovereign Lord says.' Do this whether they listen to you or not." Then the Spirit lifted me up, and I heard a loud rumbling sound behind me. May the glory of the Lord be praised in this place. It was the sound of the wings of the living beings as they brushed against each other, and the rumbling of their wheels beneath them. The Spirit lifted me up and took me away. I went into bitterness and turmoil, but the Lord's hold on me was strong. Then I came to the colony of Judea exiles in Tel Aviv, beside the Kabar River. I was overwhelmed and sat among them for 7 days. A watchman for Israel. After 7 days, the Lord gave me a message. He said, "Son of man, I have appointed you as a watchman for Israel. Whenever you receive a message from me, warn people immediately. If I warn the wicked, saying you are under the penalty of death, but you fail to deliver the warning, they will die in their sins, and I will hold you responsible for their deaths. If you warn them and they refuse to repent and keep on sinning, they will die in their sins, but you will have saved yourself because you obeyed me. If righteous people turn away from the righteous behavior and ignore the obstacles I put in their way, they will die. And if you do not warn them, they will die in their sins. None of their righteous acts will be remembered, and I will hold you responsible for their deaths. But if you warn righteous people not to sin, and they listen to you and do not sin, they will live, and you will have saved yourself too." Then the Lord took a hold of me and said, "Get up and go into the valley, and I will speak to you there." So I got up and went. And there I saw the glory of the Lord, just as I had seen in my first vision by the Kabar River. I fell face down on the ground. When the Spirit came into me and set me on my feet, he spoke to me and said, "Go to your house and shut yourself in. There, Son of man, you will be tied with ropes so you cannot go among the people, and I will make your tongue stick to the roof of your mouth, so that you will be speechless, unable to rebuke them, for they are rebels. But when I give you a message, I will loosen your tongue and let you speak. Then you will say to them, 'This is what the sovereign Lord says.' Those who choose to listen will listen, but those who refuse will refuse, for they are rebels." So Ezekiel, right, has been chosen by God and been given, he it's I laugh because it's so powerful. It's beyond almost even our own human explanation. I mean, of the things that I'm feeling at this moment about this. To have this much description in the beings that were with God. A lot of people talk about the angels and what they look like, and I definitely think that these are, I know you could say, protectors of the realm, right? And gosh, the description, right? And I think one of my favorite parts is that this is what the glory of God looked like to me. I think that's one of the first times that someone in this Bible says that, hey, this is what he looked like to me. Now, he may look different to everybody, but to him, and to have that type of power be in front of you, right? And he talks about multiple times falling to his face, because you can't, and we've all heard that saying. I know for me, there's times that I feel the Spirit so deeply to where, like, I can't even stand. So I can only imagine. But, it's a pretty powerful section here. And for him to be called to this. And I love how he talks about this scroll, and he talks about that, he had him, eat it. And the thing is that when we come into this book, we're feeding ourselves, right? And it's sweet. So again, to think of it that way, and to think that he was the watchman for Israel, but God only wanted him to speak when he wanted him to speak. And that's a pretty powerful thing, to be chosen for that. He didn't want Ezekiel just going out there and assuming things and just saying, oh, well, the sovereign Lord says this. It was only when God wanted him to. And he was like, listen, like, you're not going to talk until it's time, kind of thing. Until it is time. So as you go into chapter 4 and 5, it's talking about the coming judgment. And the coming of an end. There was a lot of different things, whether it was a new proverb, judgment against false prophets, judgment against false women prophets, idolatry of the leaders, uncertainty. It talks about how Jerusalem is an unfaithful wife. And there's also another story in here. And before we go into dry bones, which would be kind of like our part 1, is the story of the 2 eagles. And it says, "This message came to me from the Lord, Son of man, give this riddle and tell the story to the people of Israel. Give them this message from the sovereign Lord. A great eagle with broad wings and long feathers covered with many colored plumage came to Lebanon. He seized the top of a cedar tree and plucked off its highest branch. He carried it away to a city filled with merchants. He planted it in a city of traders. He also took a seedling from the land and planted it in fertile soil. He placed it beside a broad river where it could grow like a willow tree. It took root there and grew into a low spreading vine. Its branches turned up towards the eagle, and its roots grew down into the ground. It produced strong branches and put out shoots. But then another great eagle came, with broad wings and full plumage, so the vine now sent its roots and branches towards him for water. even though it was already planted in good soil and had plenty of water, so it could grow into a splendid vine and produce rich leaves and luscious fruit. So now the sovereign Lord asks, will this vine grow and prosper? No, I will pull it up, roots and all. I will cut off its fruit and let its leaves wither and die. I will pull it up easy, without a strong arm or large army. But when the vine is transplanted, will it thrive? No, it will wither away when the east wind blows against it. It will die in the same good soil where it had grown so well. And this is the explanation. This is what I really love about this chapter here, 17, Ezekiel 17. It says, this message came to me from the Lord. Say to these rebels of Israel, don't you understand the meaning of this riddle of the eagles? The king of Babylon came to Jerusalem, took away her king and princes, and brought them to Babylon. He made a treaty with a member of the royal family and forced him to take an oath of loyalty. He also exiled Israel's most influential leaders, so Israel would not become strong again and revolt. Only by keeping her treaty with Babylon could Israel survive. Nevertheless, this man of Israel's royal family rebelled against Babylon, sending ambassadors to Egypt to request a great army and many horses. Can Israel break her sworn treaties like that and get away with it? No. For as surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, the king of Israel will die in Babylon, the land of the king who put him in power and whose treaty he disregarded and broke. Pharaoh and all his mighty army will fail to help Israel when the king of Babylon lays siege to Jerusalem again and destroys many lives. For the king of Israel disregarded his treaty and broke it after swearing to obey. Therefore he will not escape. So this is what the sovereign Lord says. As surely as I live, I will punish him for breaking my covenant and disregarding the solemn oath he made in my name. I will throw my net over him and capture him in my snare. I will bring him to Babylon and put him on trial for his treason against me. All of his best warriors will be killed in battle, and those who survive will be scattered to the four winds. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will take a branch from the top of a tall cedar, and I will plant it on the top of Israel's highest mountain. It will become a majestic cedar, sending forth its branches and producing seed. Birds of every sort will nest in it, finding shelter in the shade of its branches, and all the trees will know that it is I, the Lord, who cuts the tall tree down and makes the short tree grow tall. It is I who makes the green tree wither and gives the dead tree new life. I, the Lord, have spoken and will do just what I said. I love that there's an explanation of a riddle, right? That's what they're calling it in the NIV version. It's a riddle, right? It's giving you this example, right? And then God really transcribing it into saying, hey, do you think that you can do this and then this happens? Like, no, you cannot. Such a powerful, powerful statement. As we continue, it talks about the rebellion of Israel and some of the other nations and the sins. And it talks about there's so many different messages for the different places like Moab, Edom, Philistia, Tyre, and all of these, and even the king, and then you go to Egypt, talking about, there's Pharaoh in here as well. And I'm sorry, it's such a long chapter, I'm not going to be able to finish it all with you. But there is a section, excuse me, it's been really interesting with the weather here, so my voice. There is, in chapter 4, it talks about the shepherds of Israel, and this is really important, I believe. It says, then this message came to me from the Lord, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds, the leaders of Israel. Give them this message from the sovereign Lord. What sorrow awaits you shepherds who feed yourselves instead of your flocks? Shouldn't shepherds feed their sheep? You drink the milk, wear the wool, and butcher the best animals, but you let your flocks starve. You have not taken care of the weak. You have not tended the sick or bound up the injured. You have not gone looking for those who have wandered away and are lost. Instead, you have ruled them with harshness and cruelty. So my sheep have been scattered without a shepherd, and they are easy prey for any wild animal. They have wandered through all the mountains and all the hills across the face of the earth, yet no one has gone to search for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. As surely as I live, says the sovereign Lord, you abandoned my flock and left them to be attacked by every wild animal. And though you were my shepherds, you didn't search for my sheep when they were lost. You took care of yourselves and left the sheep to starve. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the words of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I now consider these shepherds my enemies, and I will hold them responsible for what has happened to my flock. I will take away their right to feed the flock, and I will stop them from feeding themselves. I will rescue my flock from their mouths, and the sheep will no longer be their prey. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will search and find my sheep. I will be like a shepherd looking for his scattered flock. I will find my sheep and rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on the dark, cloudy day. I will bring them back home to their own land of Israel from among the peoples and nations. I will feed them on the mountains of Israel and by the rivers and in all the places where people live. Yes, I will give them good pasture land on the high hills of Israel. They will lie down in pleasant places and feed in lush pastures of the hills. I myself will tend to my sheep and give them a place to lie down in peace, says the sovereign Lord. I will search for my lost ones who strayed away. I will bring them safely home again. I will bandage the injured and strengthen the weak, but I will destroy those who are fat and powerful. I will feed them, yes, feed them justice. And as for you, my flock, this is what the sovereign Lord says to his people. I will judge between one animal of the flock and another, separating the sheep from the goats. Isn't it enough for you to keep the best of your pastures for yourselves? Must you always trample down the rest? Isn't it enough for you to drink clear water for yourselves? Must you also muddy the rest of your feet? Must my flock eat what you have trampled down and drink water from what you fouled? Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will surely judge between the fat sheep and the scrawny sheep. For you fat sheep pushed and butted and crowded my sick and hungry flock until you scattered them to distant lands. So I will rescue my flock, and they will no longer be abused. I will judge between one animal of the flock and another, and one will set over them to one shepherd, my servant David. He will feed them and be a shepherd of them, and I, the Lord, will be the God, and my servant David will be a prince among my people. I, the Lord, have spoken. You're probably wondering, why did you read that? It's very powerful if you put yourself in a position of you being the sheep or you being a shepherd for God's people. You can't just leave people out to dry and to starve on their own. And you also can't be okay with the people that forget everybody else, because everybody is important. It's a very important part. So as we get into the dry bones, and this is the valley of the dry bones, this is really one of the most, they say, the most powerful visions in all of Scripture, because God takes Ezekiel into the valley filled with dry bones. The valley of dry bones. The Lord took hold of me, and I was carried away by the Spirit of the Lord to the valley filled with bones. He led me all around among the bones that covered the valley floor. They were scattered everywhere across the ground and were completely dried out. Then he asked me, Son of man, can these bones become living people again? O sovereign Lord, I replied, you alone only know the answer to that. Then he said to me, Speak a prophetic message to these bones and say, Dry bones, listen to the words of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Look, I'm going to put breath into you and make you live again. I will put flesh and muscles on you and cover you with skin. I will put breath into you, and you will come to life. Then you'll know that I am Lord. So I spoke this message just as he told me. Suddenly as I spoke, there was a rattling noise across the whole valley. The bones of each body came together and attached themselves as complete skeletons. Then as I watched, muscles and flesh formed onto their bones. Then skin formed to cover their bodies, but they still had no breath in them. Then he said to me, "Speak a prophetic message to the wind, son of man. Speak a prophetic message and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Come, O breath from the four winds, breathe into these dead bodies so they may live again." So I spoke the message as she commanded me, and breath came into their bodies. They all came to life and stood up on their feet, a great army. Then he said to me, "Son of man, these bones represent the people of Israel. They are saying, 'We have become old, dry bones. All hope is gone. Our nation is finished. Therefore, prophesy to them and say, this is what our sovereign Lord says. O my people, I will open the graves of exile and cause you to rise again. Then I will bring you back to the land of Israel. When this happens, O my people, you will know that I am the Lord. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live again and return to home in your own land. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken and have done what I said. Yes, the Lord has spoken." Think about that. Okay, so just pause. God takes you to the valley of dry bones. And Ezekiel is told to perform, right, to say these words on the Lord that the Lord has given him. And you see all these bones everywhere. I'm sure that was just crazy to see. Then they come assemble together. He sees them basically get formed back into humans. I mean, you could only imagine the excellence that you were being a part of in that moment. And the thing is that they weren't dead bones. They're dry bones. I think that's really, really important, because I think a lot of people will take it as like, oh, well, the dry bone. No, they weren't dead. They were dry. They were dry. And he's asking Ezekiel, can these bones live? And it was such a powerful question from God, because he wasn't talking about the bones. He was talking about faith. Do you have enough faith to where these dry bones can live? So each one of us faces situations that look impossible, right? And the question then becomes to us, will we agree to these circumstances, or will we agree with God that he can make all dry bones new? So these dry bones truly represent Israel during this time. And it says here in this section of, our bones are dried up and our hope is gone. So in reality, that before revival came to them physically, hope had already died spiritually, emotionally. Like, it was gone. And you could be spiritually exhausted, you could stop believing, you just stop expecting, and you stop dreaming. And maybe at times you stop praying, because you think to yourself, well, why am I going to continue to listen and to pray and do all these things when nothing ever really changes? And one of the important parts, I mean, especially for, where we're living now, is that, the enemy wants you to believe that your story is over, but God is still writing it. And I'm sure you guys have heard that a million times. You've seen it on t-shirts. People say it, like, I know the author, who has the pen. Okay. And that's so true on such a deep, deep level. On such a deep, deep level, to where it's so important for you to truly understand what he's saying. Like, it may seem that all hope is lost, and you have to still believe that there is more. That there's still more. So as it continues, there's restoration that begins. And in chapter 39, Ezekiel 39:25. So now this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will end the captivity of my people, and I will have mercy on all Israel, for I jealously guard my holy reputation. They will accept responsibility for their past shame and unfaithfulness after they come home to live in peace in their own land, with no one to bother them. When I bring them home from the lands of their enemies, I will display my holiness among them for all the nations to see. Then my people will know that I am the Lord their God, because I sent them away to exile and brought them home again. I will leave none of my people behind, and I will never again turn my face from them. For I will pour out my spirit upon the people of Israel. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. So now he is building a new temple area. And again, the description of the temple: the east gateway, the outer courtyard, the north gateway, the south gateway, gateways to the inner courtyard, rooms for preparing sacrifices, rooms for priests, the inner courtyard, and the temple. And again, it's very descriptive. I mean, to the inch. What was used? Why are they doing that? It needs to be this high. Where the tables need to be placed. It's very, very important on the description. God then returns in Ezekiel 43. He returns his glory inside the temple. It says, after this, the man brought me back around to the east gate. Suddenly the glory of God of Israel appeared from the east. The sound of his coming was like the roar of rushing waters. The whole land, it says rushing waters, the whole landscape shone with his glory. This vision was just like the others I had seen, first by the Kabar River, and then he came to destroy Jerusalem. I fell face down on the ground, and the glory of the Lord came into the temple through the east gateway. Then the Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner courtyard, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple. I heard someone speaking to me from within the temple, while the man who had been measuring stood beside me. The Lord said to me, Son of man, this is the place of my throne, and the place where I will rest my feet. I will live here forever among the people of Israel. They and their kings will not defile my holy name any longer by their adulterous worship of other gods, by honoring the relics of their kings who have died. They put their altars right next to mine, with only a wall between them and me. They defiled my holy name by such detestable sin, so I consumed them in my anger. Now let them stop worshiping other gods and honoring the relics of their kings, and I will live among them forever. Son of man, describe to the people of Israel the temple I have shown you, so they will be ashamed of all their sins. Let them study this plan, and they will be ashamed of what they have done. Describe to them all the specifications of the temple, including the entrances and exits and everything else about it. Tell them about its decrees and laws. Write down all these decrees and laws. Write down all the specifications and decree as they watch, so they will be sure to remember and follow them. This is the basic law of the temple: absolute holiness. The entire top of the mountain where the temple is built is holy. Yes, this is the basic law of the temple. He makes it seem like it's so simple, right? He's like, yeah, this is what it is. Make sure you tell them, like, it's very specific. This is just the basics. And I was having a conversation with my dad the other day, and we were talking about, he had sent me this video of the things that Jesus had said. And, I was talking to him about it, and I said, to think back to where people were living in this time, right? To think back to living in this era to where there was no telephones, there was no cars, there was no advancement in, where life is. And I just find it so interesting that in these times, none of those things were going on. And another thing was the simple fact that you didn't have the Spirit of God on you. And I know I've talked about that for the last couple of weeks, but I think it's really important to understand that how we live and how we represent the Lord and how we represent Him, our Father, and in the world, I don't know what it's like to not have the Spirit of Him on me. I don't know what it's like to live life without Him. So for those that have not lived without Him, um, I almost want to kind of try to understand, but it's hard, right? Because there's so much greatness that because of knowing the Lord, because the Spirit is on me, like, you didn't just have the Spirit on you in these times. So when we talk about this hope being lost, and it's just all of this destruction and things are being destroyed and they're in exile, I mean, this is like some serious stuff, because they didn't have in the back of their mind, like, oh, God is with me. They had to truly believe that He was with them and He was going to restore them and He was going to be there for them, even though they had done all these horrible things. And I just think about some of like the random, there were so many people back then. I don't want to say that they're random, but like if you think about just all of the people in the world back then, and if you had the opportunity to hear from Ezekiel, like how you would be filled with hope. And would you be filled with hope, or would you be lost with it? When you see a new temple, would you, go in there and feel some type of way about it? Would you be renewed in your spirit? Because God's just not choosing anybody to just put His Spirit on and to show Him different things and visions and all of the things that were taking place. So I think it's a very important perspective to understand the times that everybody was living in and how important it is, right? And it's important because of many different things, right? It's like the dry bones vision wasn't just about Israel returning in Ezekiel. It's bigger than that. It's God bringing life to where death once ruled, and ultimately points to the power of the resurrection of Christ, of what He can take away and give back. And, Ezekiel truly reminds us that God doesn't see dead ends the way that we do. Because a lot of times we're like, okay, and we just give up. And we're like, okay, yep, nope, it's done. Or maybe we've tried something multiple times. We're like, yeah, no, that's it. And this is pretty important. It's where He sees dry bones, He sees an army. Where He sees loss, He sees restoration. Where He sees failure, there's purpose. And death is life. It's this back and forth. And this God here that we're reading about is still the same God today, who's raising these dry bones, these people that have no faith, don't believe that He's real, don't believe that there's any hope. He's still breathing life into people today. I find it so fascinating when I come across different, videos and things like that of people just on fire for the Lord, because they are understanding Him and feeling His presence for maybe the very first time. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. Like, this whole time I was searching for this whole time I was looking for this whole time I was hoping for this, and then they finally experience that and they go, I understand. And sometimes it's hard to understand. It's hard to interpret. It's hard to really understand what it is that He's saying. And it's hard to understand that you could have this on you, because a lot of times, right, people have to, the five senses, right? You have to smell it, you have to see it, you have to hear it, you have to taste it, and you have to feel it. right? There's the senses that we have. And, there's a lot of people that are like, well, if I don't have any of that, I don't believe that God is real. And the thing is that he is real. He is alive. He is sovereign. He is amazing. And he is just. And in reality, he's not playing no games with us. He's just not. He has dealt with this kind of craziness that has gone on in the world for centuries. I mean, thousands and thousands of years these things have been going on, and people have been rebelling against him, and he understands that, but he's not messing around. And I think it's it's hard to think about, right? Because there's billions of people on this earth, and he created each and every one of us. But I think it's important because we have to be good shepherds of our flock. We can't leave people behind. We have to help them. We have to restore them, and we have to feed them, and we have to make sure that, they're good. We can't just worry about ourselves and just feed ourselves, and it's just like, that's it. And I mean, he says it right in the very beginning of Ezekiel, like, regardless if they don't listen to you, right? You warned them, so you will be saved. And if they continue to do those things, they will die. And they will die for their sins, but you won't, because you warned them. But if you're quiet and you're silent and you don't say anything to people that mean the most to you, or maybe you see a situation out in the world that you don't agree with, say something. Don't be silent. And I think that's hard for us as believers, because you don't want to, right? You don't want to put too much light on you, right? You don't want to have like, oh, well, so-and-so said this, and, you'd hear all the things like, oh, but it said that in there. Like, they're going to mock you, they're going to talk about you, but guess what? You warned them. So you're not going to die because you said something. And if they choose to listen, great. If they choose to not listen, that's on them. And these are things that I have been saying recently, and some may think like, oh, that's, it's harsh. No, I told you what it was, and if you don't listen, that's on you. Like, I told you what it was. And that's exactly what God is saying in the very beginning. Like, you need to go out there and you need to tell people. And if you don't tell people, that's going to be on you, because you knew. Like, regardless of the things they say about you, regardless of I love the fact that in the very beginning of this, he's talking to Ezekiel, telling him, like, these people are going to say things, they're going to rebel, and they're rebels, and they're crazy, but I'm going to make you just as strong and hard-headed as them, so that the things that they do and they say about you are just going to bounce off, and it's not going to deplete what you have been set here to do, right? On his commission for the Lord. He makes him just as strong. Like, yep, I'm going to make you, like, don't be afraid. They're going to say things about you. They're going to give you angry looks, and they're going to talk about you. And, I mean, isn't that the story of our lives? People look at us crazy and sideways because we say things that are like, okay, weirdo. Like, sure, no problem. But the thing is you're doing your due diligence. You're doing what's being asked of you by God, by sharing it and saying those things. And I think it's very important that you continue to do that, even when it feels the most uncomfortable, even if it's like you're in the middle. Like, how many times have you gone out to dinner, fancy dinner, not so fancy dinner, and you prayed before eating? I'll be honest with you, I'm a victim to it. I don't want to say I'm a victim. I'm false at it as well, but think about it. How many times have you gone out and not done that because you were afraid that people were going to look at you? How many times have you gone out? Maybe it's a super fancy dinner and you got all these people that are wearing their super fancy clothes, and people are going to look at you weird because you're doing it. People are going to look at you weird regardless. But I tell you, when those angels come and those trumpets sound and the Lord comes to return, it's not going to be weird then. So I want to leave you with that. Ezekiel is a very, very powerful book. It's really quite beautiful, to be honest with you. And I'm so glad that I got to share it with you today. And one of the last verses that it's recorded with Ezekiel that says that from that day the name of the city will be "The Lord is there." And him restoring what he destroyed. So next week we start our halfway point, week 27. Week 27. And we'll be going right into Daniel. So I'm very excited. Don't be afraid to talk about God, to spread the word of God, to say what you need to say. Because your faith and your care for what is out there and what is going on in our everyday world is so important. Have a great week. Thank you for being here with me, and I can't wait to see you next week. And thank you guys so much. Love you all, and yeah.